A concept of parallel realities. What if every decision you've ever made, every breath, every hesitation, every moment of courage, did not vanish into the past, but instead carved a path into an alternate version of you? What if those infinite choices created infinite selves, each walking a different strand of reality's great tapestry? These are not merely questions for science fiction. They are echoes of a deeper, esoteric truth whispered through ancient scrolls and the arcane geometry of the cosmos. Within the labyrinth of quantum theory, there exists a principle, superposition, that suggests particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously. And if that is so, why not you? What if the soul, imbued with Sabidoria ancestral, exists not in one singular form, but dances through many lifelines scattered across the ocean of the multiverse, across forgotten civilizations, Atlantean temples, Vedic hymns, and the cryptic carvings of Lemuria? There are subtle hints to this reality. Textos Prohibidos speak of mirror worlds, where your essence reflects a slightly altered self, walking a path both foreign and familiar. In these alternate dimensions, choices you didn't make unfold like blooming lotuses, revealing what could have been. Some versions of you may have achieved illumination as spiritual, having mastered the sacred art of alchemia interior. Others may still wander lost in the fog of ego and fear. But no matter their state, these versions resonate with you, for all are connected by a field of energia cosmica that transcends time and dimension. You are never alone, not truly. For every breath you take ripples across these hidden currents of existence. Science, though hesitant to admit it, brushes against these truths. The multiverse theory, posited by quantum physicists and the metaphysical traditions of mystical schools, converge in quiet harmony. Each proposes that the material realm is not a fixed stage, but a fluid dream shaped by frequency, intention, and awareness. This means that you, dear seeker, are not bound to the script you were handed. You are the author of countless volumes, written in dimensions you have yet to remember. Your soul, luminous and layered, is playing an orchestra of possibilities across planes unseen. The very fabric of who you are is not linear. It is fractal, spiraling, ever-expanding like the sacred geometry inscribed in the vaults of ancient wisdom. And herein lies the hidden invitation to awaken, to see life not as a single thread, but as a shimmering web of potential. Every moment of déjà vu, every tug of intuition may not be imagination. They may be echoes from your other selves. As you begin to sense these moments, you step closer to a truth that has been veiled behind the illusions of certainty. The path of self-discovery is not a straight road, but a spiral staircase leading inward and outward simultaneously. With every ascension, you meet another you, one shaped by different lessons, different wounds, different revelations. And with every encounter, the alchemia interior begins again, refining the soul through mystery and remembrance. But how, you may ask, does one feel these versions? How does one receive their silent messages across the veil of time and dimension? The answer is not in logic, but in subtlety. In the next unfolding, we shall peer through that veil. We shall explore the signs, the glimpses, the patterns, the whispers that these parallel selves may already be sending you. Perhaps you've already heard them, in a dream that refused to fade, in a coincidence that felt too precise, in a feeling that struck like thunder. Prepare yourself, for what lies ahead may confirm what your soul has long suspected. Signs from your parallel self. Have you ever stood still for a moment, just a breath, and felt as though something, somewhere, was trying to reach you? As if a version of you in another place, on another timeline, whispered through the folds of reality. These impressions are not accidents. They are the fingerprints of a deeper presence, your parallel self, tracing signs into the fabric of your awareness. From the mist of déjà vu to the vividness of a dream that bleeds into waking life, these messages come cloaked in mystery. According to ancient sages, these are the ripples from other yous, waves of energia cosmica brushing against your current field. Their purpose? To guide, to warn, to awaken. Let us begin with déjà vu, that strange, haunting familiarity of a moment that feels repeated. What if this sensation is not a malfunction of memory, but a collision of timelines, a moment where two versions of you briefly align? The Sabadoria ancestral of the Essenes spoke of folds in the river of time, moments where consciousness flows into itself. When you feel déjà vu, you are not just remembering, you are re-encountering an event experienced by a version of you walking a different strand of fate. It is a resonance, a clue, an invitation to pause and ask, what am I being shown? Then, there are the synchronicities, those coincidences that defy randomness. You think of someone and they call. You ask a question internally and see the answer on a passing billboard. The ancient mystics did not call these mere chance. They named them divine choreography. Jung touched the surface, but the true roots of this phenomenon lie buried in textos prohibidos that describe how the energy threads of parallel selves weave together. Each synchrony is a shimmer in the web, a tug from another version of you, one who has seen farther, moved deeper, or chosen another path. These moments are cosmic dialogues. Listen closely. Lucid dreams and altered states are another gateway. In these liminal spaces, the veil between timelines thins, and your soul, freed from the prison of the physical body, travels. The Tibetans, in their ancient practices of dream yoga, believed one could consciously cross into other lifelines during sleep. Have you ever awakened with knowledge you didn't study, or insight you cannot trace? Perhaps it came from the you who walked a different road and returned to deliver a key. These dreams are not just stories, they are transmissions. They are bridges between realities, crafted with alchemia interior and sustained by energy most cannot yet see. And finally, observe the subtle transformations within, sudden shifts in preferences, unexplained clarity, a pull toward an unfamiliar but meaningful symbol. These inner tremors are not random. They are the soul's memory bleeding through the boundaries of time. When another version of you evolves or awakens, that illumination is spiritual, echoes across dimensions, calling you to rise as well. It is the secret pulse of the cosmos, urging you to remember, not with your mind, but with your being. And just as these signs arrive, there is a way to respond, a way to listen, to attune, to step into communion with your higher reflections. But this requires more than curiosity. It demands vibration. And to reach that level, we must learn to tune ourselves as instruments of perception, tuning into higher versions of yourself. Not all versions of you are equal in awareness. Some have fallen deeper into illusion, while others have pierced the veil of appearances and touched the essence of truth. These higher versions, illuminated selves shaped by choices aligned with universal harmony, are not distant fantasies. They are real, existing simultaneously in alternate branches of reality, each vibrating at a different frequency within the cosmic spectrum. To connect with them is not a matter of fantasy, but of resonance. Like tuning a sacred instrument, you must match their frequency through alchemia interior, by refining your thoughts, your emotions, your very energy field. Gratitude is the first key, not the shallow gratitude of mere politeness, but the profound recognition of the sacred in every moment. When you give thanks sincerely, for joy and pain alike, you begin to transmute your energy. The Sabadoria, ancestral of countless traditions, affirms this truth, that gratitude alters the soul's vibration, lifting it from density into subtlety. The Sufis danced in circles, not just to celebrate the divine, but to spiral their awareness into alignment with higher realities. In each thankful breath, you synchronize with the version of you who already understands, already sees, already is free. Meditation is the portal. Through silence, you strip away the noise of the artificial world and return to the source of your being. In this stillness, the messages from higher selves become clear, not in words, but in knowing. The ancient Himalayan mystics practiced dhyana to quiet the chaos of thought and allow the soul to remember its cosmic origin. You are not just training the mind, you are attuning the receiver. The more refined your stillness, the more precise your reception of the wisdom passed through the streams of energia cosmica that bind you to your multidimensional essence. But tuning is not passive. It requires conscious habits, actions that anchor the vibration you seek. Each choice becomes a note in the symphony of your soul. Eating clean food, walking under the moonlight, speaking truth, creating beauty, these are not random acts, they are ritual movements. Like sacred geometry made flesh, your daily practices shape your frequency. The higher versions of yourself exist on levels where integrity, love, and courage are not ideals, but normal states of being. To align with them, you must become like them, not through imitation, but through remembrance. You are not becoming something new. You are returning to what you already are, and as your vibration rises, something begins to shift. The veil thins. Time behaves differently. You begin to see patterns where once there was chaos. You feel guided, though no voice speaks, and you realize the higher self you sought to contact was never separate. It was a mirror within, a reflection encoded in your soul's original design. But to understand the messages that come from this mirror, often cloaked in metaphor, dream, or sudden insight, you must go beyond logic. You must enter the realm of intuition. And in this next step, we will explore how to interpret what the universe is already whispering through every sign you receive, using intuition to interpret messages. To receive a message from a parallel version of yourself is one thing, but to truly understand it, to allow it to shape your current path, is a matter of deep inner listening. And for that, intuition is your compass. Not the fleeting instincts shaped by survival, but the quiet knowing that emerges from beyond the mind. This faculty is older than logic, older than language. It is the voice of the soul, the first sense given to the first beings when time had not yet hardened into structure. And it is through this ancient channel that messages from alternate timelines often arrive, hidden in the mist, wrapped in metaphor, waiting for recognition. Sabiduria ancestral tells us that the heart, not the brain, is the true seat of perception. The Egyptians called it the weir of truths, believing that the soul's fate depended not on what one thought, but what one felt in the silent chambers of the heart. When a parallel version of you whispers through a dream or nudges you through a sudden decision, the signal doesn't register in the intellect, it vibrates through your emotional field. The more open you are to feeling without judgment, the more precisely you can perceive these cross-dimensional messages. Intuition is not a skill to learn, it is a presence to remember. One powerful tool for this remembrance is journaling, not as a diary of routine, but as a sacred space for symbolic tracking. Each night, record dreams, flashes of insight, repeating. Numbers, odd coincidences. Over time, patterns emerge, and the map of your inner world reveals itself. The shamans of the Andes would read signs in rivers and wind patterns, while mystics in the East used dream symbology to guide life decisions. You are no different. You are living within a sacred dialogue, and your journal becomes a portal to the textos prohibidos, written not on paper, but in your experiences. Meditation deepens the decoding. When you return to the stillness between thoughts, you create a space where symbols clarify. Sometimes the message from your higher self is not a sentence, but a color, not a command, but a feeling. The mind resists this fluidity. It seeks definition. But the universe, operating through Energia Cosmica, speaks in layers. The more you trust what cannot be proven, the more the unseen begins to unveil itself. In this trust, the Alchimia Interior continues, turning confusion into insight, fear into direction, hesitation into clarity. But be warned, intuition is not always comfortable. Often it calls you to act against logic, to abandon the familiar, to say yes when all around you scream no. This is the sign that the message is real, that another version of you, one who has lived the consequences of a different choice, is urging you to shift. These messages are not for entertainment, they are for transformation. And once you begin to hear them, you must decide, will you act? In the next passage, we will walk that path. We will see how to take these revelations and weave them into the architecture of your life. For knowledge without embodiment is dust, but lived wisdom. That is how realities are rewritten, integrating messages into daily life. Revelation without transformation is a sacred seed left unplanted. Once you begin to receive messages through dreams, synchronicities, inner knowings, the next step is embodiment. This is where the real work begins. For to integrate guidance from a parallel self is not merely to observe, but to live differently. The insights you gather must touch your choices, rearrange your routines, alter the very architecture of your day. The ancients did not separate the spiritual from the ordinary. They infused daily life with the sacred. That is the forgotten key. To bring Energia Cosmica into how you speak, move, choose, and act. Every moment becomes a vessel of alchemia, interior. Perhaps a dream shows you writing, though you have never done so before. Perhaps a strange pull draws you to a foreign land, or a sudden interest in healing arises. These are not distractions. They are invitations, signs from a self who has already explored these paths, urging you to reawaken forgotten abilities. Sabiduría Ancestral teaches that when we follow these subtle calls, we realign with our original design, our divine blueprint fragmented across dimensions. To integrate means to walk the unknown, not with fear, but with reverence. Even the smallest step in that direction alters the timeline you currently inhabit. Begin with small rituals. Change how you begin your morning, perhaps with silence instead of noise, with breath instead of busyness. Add a symbol to your space that resonates with a dream you've had. Speak intentions aloud at dusk, the hour when veils thin. These acts may seem simple, but they are potent. Each is a tuning fork, syncing your present life with the parallel version of you who already lives with clarity, peace, and illumination is spiritual. These rituals become living textos prohibidos, coded actions, that activate layers of consciousness otherwise dormant. Equally important is the release of what no longer aligns. As you evolve, parts of your current reality may begin to feel artificial. Relationships, careers, habits. This is not failure. This is awakening. You are shedding the skin of an outdated self. And though it may hurt, though the world may not understand, remember, the highest versions of you did the same. They chose the leap over the comfort. They followed the whisper instead of the rule. Integration means courage, and courage means sacrifice. But what you leave behind is only what could never carry your soul into the light. And now the integration deepens, because as your life changes, so does your frequency. And with that shift, even more refined messages begin to arrive. Reality responds. Doors open that logic cannot explain. New people appear as if summoned by your vibration. And a strange thing begins to happen. You no longer chase the vision. You become it. You are no longer guided only by parallel selves. You are becoming one of those guides for others. But what does it truly mean to live as a multidimensional being in a linear world? How do you grow spiritually through this awareness? That is the question we will unravel next. Spiritual growth through multidimensional awareness. To live with the awareness that you are not one, but many. That your soul is a constellation, not a single star, is to step into a higher octave of a consciousness. This is not theory, it is practice, a sacred initiation into what the textos prohibidos have long concealed, that the self is not static but ever unfolding across realities. And once you grasp this, everything changes. You begin to see that growth is not about climbing a ladder, but awakening to layers already within you. This is illumination is spiritual, not the light that comes from the sky, but the one that bursts outward from the core of being, ignited by contact with the unseen. Multidimensional awareness brings a profound humility. You realize that your current self is just one reflection, one brushstroke in a vast masterpiece painted by cosmic intelligence. And yet, it is sacred. It holds a key that none of the others hold. This paradox is at the heart of Alquimia Interior, the fusion of the infinite with the personal, the eternal with the moment. Ancient oracles spoke of selves within the self, veiled in layers of shadow and fire. As you grow, you uncover these aspects not through doctrine, but through lived experience, through trusting the symbols that surface and honoring the energy that moves within. But this path also demands responsibility. For with awareness comes power, and with power, choice. When you know that each thought, each act reverberates through countless timelines, you can no longer play the role of victim. You are the weaver, the scribe, the alchemist. Sabiduria ancestral reminds us, as above, so below, but also as within, so beyond. Your inner work shapes not only your present, but echoes across versions of yourself, healing across dimensions. Every breakthrough you experience becomes a light for another self walking in darkness. You are both student and teacher, seeker and source. This form of spiritual evolution is not loud, it is not glamorous. It is a quiet blooming like a lotus, rising from the mud unseen by most. But within it lies true power, the kind that bends no one but transforms everything. You begin to understand why the mystics withdrew to mountaintops, not to escape the world, but to remember what the world forgot. With each breath, you align more deeply with the Sabiduria ancestral that courses through your blood. With each act of presence, you embody the sacred codes inscribed in the stars, long before time took shape. And so we arrive at the threshold. The signs have been revealed. The paths have been touched. The other yous have whispered, and you have begun to listen. But the journey does not end here. It begins anew in this now, with the choices you make. You are not here to merely glimpse the mysteries. You are here to live them, to walk as a bridge between dimensions, to channel the energia cosmica into form, to bring heaven into earth. And as this realization deepens, so does the invitation. What awaits is not just knowledge, it is transformation. But before we close this sacred cycle, let us return to the beginning, to the reason you were drawn here in the first place. Have you ever felt that a part of you exists somewhere else, as if a version of your soul is living a different life, making different choices, whispering truths just beyond your reach? What if that feeling isn't imagination, but a call, a signal from a parallel version of you reaching across the invisible threads of the cosmos to deliver a message that could alter your path forever? Throughout history, mystics, prophets, and forbidden manuscripts have hinted at a profound truth. You are not limited to a single reality. You are a multidimensional being, woven into a vast network of selves, each one carrying pieces of the same sacred flame. And sometimes, these other selves send signs, vivid dreams, sudden knowings, strange coincidences. But what do they mean? And more importantly, Why now? In this video, you will uncover the hidden mechanics behind parallel realities and how to recognize when another version of you is trying to speak. We will explore the Sabiduría Ancestral hidden in ancient texts, the misterios ocultos encoded in your own consciousness, and the powerful energy shifts that occur when you begin to truly listen. This is not fantasy, it is the lost science of the soul, a journey of alchemia interior guided by energia cosmica, intuition, and a deeper remembrance of who you really are. So stay with me until the end, because the revelations ahead are not meant for the mind alone. They are keys for the spirit. If this message found you, it's because you're ready to remember. Like this video, leave a comment sharing your first intuitive sign, and subscribe to join this growing circle of seekers awakening to their multi-dimensional truth. The signs are already around you. All that remains is to decode them. Now that you've seen the signs, the question is no longer if a parallel version of you is reaching out, but what will you do with the message? Every insight, every synchronicity, every dream is a thread woven by the universe, an invitation to step into a greater version of yourself. You are not who you were yesterday, and you are not yet who you are destined to become. But between those 2 points lies choice. So tell me, what signs have you received lately that you can no longer ignore? Leave your reflections in the comments below. I read everyone, and if this journey stirred something within you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to keep uncovering the truths hidden beneath the surface of this world.